Hey, I'm CARBO brother, Chris Nelson, President of CARBO. Really excited to introduce the new KEL-TEC SUB-2000 RDL. So the RDL is the Rapid Deployment Latch. So this is new for the Sub. It's kind of nice to be doing something again for the SUB-2000. No, we don't have to rip these things apart ever again. Pretty sure we're all done with the internals at this point and everything's running like a dream, so no need to screw up a good thing. This latch right here, so it's the latching tab, the factory part number 225. On the owner's manual, it just doesn't really do enough. You know, something that always drove me nuts is if I handed the Sub to somebody that had never seen it before and they're like, oh, that's cool. The first thing they kind of do is they're gonna look at it and then they look at you like you just handed them an effing Rubik's Cube. So, and then they would go about trying to open it and it was the most painful thing to watch. It just drove me nuts. And enough of you guys had requested this in the past and we kind of bypassed it early on. There were a lot of other things we wanted to do. Now this is an injection molded part because it has to be. We've got a lot of plastic, so obviously plastic rail, plastic buffer back here that this latch mates to. So it doesn't really work well in the long run if we did hard coat aluminum or steel or anything like that. We had to go with a polymer. Now this polymer is a proprietary blend. It's got the best tensile strength, impact strength, and impregnated lubricity to help it move smoothly. And a nice thing, I don't know if you noticed this yet, but I'm just using one finger. So we designed the latch so that you can just operate it with your thumb, essentially. So literally throw your thumb on, pop it open, and away you go. So a nice way to make it a much more rapidly deploying pistol caliber carbine, which is the intent. And hopefully when you hand it off to your buddy or whoever, you know, they're not gonna give you that weird look like you just gave them an effing Rubik's Cube. They're gonna be able to flip it open. You'll just say, hey, hit the latch and there you go. So let's jump on over tabletop and I'll show you how they compare to the factory one. All right guys, so here they are. So this is a stock factory latching tab here and this is the new RDL here, so the rapid deployment latch. So something you may not typically think about very often, but you certainly do when you're going to open up your Sub. You're kind of like, man, this thing could be a little bit better. You know, and with enough practice, you could probably try to figure out how to do that one-handed latch release, but you know, it can be a little troubling. You got to get it just right, kind of just the edge there. And if you miss it due to the lack of grip, you know, there's so much radius on each of these little nubs, it doesn't give you much dexterity. Your fingers just kind of slide right over it. And you guys all know what I'm talking about. It's just, it's all right. So we've had a lot of requests for it. And if you've got a bolt tube cover, which 90% of us do, because when you shoot the Sub the first time and you feel every little bit of that bolt recoiling in your cheekbone, you know, this is one of the first things a lot of guys pick up. Well, then when you get one of those, you know, it's not really a good lockup. You know, it's okay, but it's still stretched a little bit in terms of the engagement. So the engagement there on that little point on the tab, and then this feature here on the rail, you know, plastic and plastic, sometimes this will happen. So you'll go to close it and you may not get a good complete lock unless you really slam it. You can't really go down like that slow. You're gonna get an incomplete lock. So with the RDL, we can mimic that. We can go really slow in a lock. And we got the bolt tube cover. So much more secure, easier to lock. You don't have to slam the crap out of it. You know, we're not smashing plastic together, potentially hitting our front sight on the buttstock, none of that stuff. So nice little one finger motion there, makes it super easy. You know, it's actually taller here, it's longer, and it's a little bit wider. So these pull tabs back here make it super easy. If you want to just pull it from the back there to release it, or if you just want to do the one finger, simple, man. There's just so much more utility here, speed and efficiency. So a rapid deploying, folding carbine, but you have to be able to unfold it quickly to be competitive, to get any sort of edge, whether it's a competition or a fight for your life. So definitely important when seconds matter. It's nice to have something that is quick and easy to operate, and obviously securely lock up and hold everything in place too. You shouldn't be over there trying to smash this thing together. So nice little even drop. Whereas over here at the factory one, you know, you can't go very slow. You get to about there and you can see where it's just barely not enough and you gotta really compress it. And then even then it's kind of stretched. And look how much shorter this is. The RDL takes up the entire space there, the working space of the buffer assembly. So here you can see the buffer assembly right here. This is what the latching tab, the factory one, locates to. Same with the RDL. The RDL is designed in a way to where you got an extension so you can get a little bit more length of pull there instead of having to really choke up quite a bit to pull on this thing. You know, especially if you're used to pulling up front, because they got this weird contour. So you either got to pull up here or pull back here. And there's really not much back there. You know, there's essentially nothing. On the RDL design, I mean, you've got Nice dexterity here. So these are a little finer, easier to grab, not as many of them, but good grip surface. And if you want, you got these pull tabs, so you can just pull right there and you're in business. So you can do the 2-finger pull if that's what you're used to and you like doing, or the 1-finger, which is just so much better, so much easier and faster. So really excited about this. I mean, this is something that has probably been way long overdue, and I'm really pumped to hear what you guys think about it. I know we've already done a ton to our subs at this point, so might as well put the little cherry on top, and I say this is it. So really excited about it. Love adding some versatility and utility to these great little folding carbines, but we got to be able to unfold them quickly. I mean, that is a prerequisite there. All right, so let's just jump into the install now. All right, so we got the factory one there. This is the only tool you're going to need is a flathead screwdriver. You don't even really necessarily need that. You are going to need the KEL-TEC SUB-2000 rapid deployment latch, or SUB-2000 RDL. There she is right there. All right, so we can stack up. I got a spare factory one here. We can stack them up however you want, end to end like that, or a better comparison would be like this, to line up the engagement features and kind of give you a good little picture. Oh man, it's like the RDL ate a couple of these and then just grew. So you can see really nice and wide here, giving you much more purchase on that latch as opposed to this little thing. But it is what it is, man, mass production. And I get it too, when you've gotten so far down the road, it's hard to just change design. So we had a lot more time to put into this and think about it, and love KEL-TEC and everything they've done. They've been amazing to us, so it's great working with them. Obviously we do it for you guys. You guys requested this, and all the new shooters that grab a sub, that Rubik's Cube look, man, on their face just kills me. So just before we started designing this, I literally took over a sub to the neighbor's house to show them. They'd never seen it, and I got that look like 3 or 4 times, and it's like, okay, man, we got to do something here. So I'm glad we did it. You can see how we maintained a lot of the internal features necessary for the OEM function. We changed some things to improve it, make it better. Obviously get the extension, so we wanted to be able to extend it like we did here. There's some things that we had to do to work around that, but definitely took a little time. Really excited about it. I mean, so much improvement. Little stuff adds up over time, and we've got so much into the sub right now, man. It's a night and day effect, and this is just one more item to make that night and day effect. Really excited about it. So, all right, we can put that down, show you how hard this is gonna be. All right, you ready for it? Be careful now. This could get difficult. So literally all we do is take the flathead and just pry that little wing out. So this is what it looks like inside. So we're just sticking our flathead in and just prying that little hook. It's these 2 hooks that hold it in place, and then there's a spring in the middle. That's it. So you can push back, or you can just leave it where it is, pry it, go to the other side, pry it, and it pops right off, just like that, and walks right out, and you're done. Now there is a spring right there. Caught the spring. You couldn't really see from that view, so let me just throw it in there. You can see there's a nipple in there where that spring locates onto. If you have any trouble with it, you can put a little grease on the end of that spring and try to get to stick there, or just keep your index finger underneath of it like that. So you're gonna hold the spring just like that as we put the RDL on. But one thing I wanna point out real quick is the underside of this RDL versus the factory tab. So we thought about everything here. We had a lot of time to go about designing it. One thing you'll notice when the RDL is on there, it's not dragging on the sides here of the buttstock. All right, so we designed it in a way where it had as little resistance and impact necessary. So we didn't want it to be dragging out here. All that was necessary for proper function, we wanted a low drag effect. And you'll notice the factory one just drags on the entire thing. I mean, it is just, you can feel that rub. All right, so that's something that we wanted to improve for sure. We didn't want to have any drag. It couldn't be slow, it had to be rapid. Hence the name RDL. All right, so like I was saying, synthetic grease, or any grease for that matter, just a little bit will do. You just want to get something on there so that it'll stick, like I showed you earlier on that little nipple inside. All right, and it's preferable to do it, like this. You don't want to fight gravity having it on its side. That's not really ideal. So we got our little spring in there on that nipple, and the goal is to keep it, straight in line with this piece here in the buffer. And then we're going to take the RDL. Obviously this fancy looking geometry up here, raised portion is going to be facing up, little smooth stuff down. If you even want to put a little grease on there, you could, but probably not necessary. You don't want to get dirt there. It's got impregnated lubricity already, which is far superior from what we had initially from the factory. Now right here, you see these internal hooks right here? So that's what we want to make sure we get past that spring. So when you look at your spring on the side, it starts here and goes pretty much all the way back to here. All right, so here's a little side profile again. You know how I like to beat a horse to death. if I can. So, your spring is going to go on there, on that nipple. Be careful not to damage your spring. This is from another one where the spring got kinked and bent. So if you put it on there wrong, could do that, and then it might feel a little weird. All right, so the goal is when you're sliding this on, the RDL, these tabs back here got to get past the entire spring, and then they got to lock right behind this wall right there. So that's what we're shooting for. So when we, get the RDL started to about here, we're going to start separating it, pull it all the way back, and then release it. So I got my spring in there on the nipple, all right, and it helps if you have your firearm braced up. When we got these in the same day, we just literally ripped it off. I was just holding one. But filming always makes it a little fun here. So I'm cheating, but you can always cheat, man. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So use a vise if you got it. If you don't, it'll be all right. So get started about right here, and then we'll just pull it apart. And this thing is strong, so it's not like you're gonna break it. So just pull it apart, good amount of ways, as far as you can. And then it should function like that. Should just get nice, even pull. It shouldn't feel weird, shouldn't make any clicking noises. If it does, just start on over. Separate it, pull it out, check your spring, make sure your spring's not damaged, throw it back in on that nipple, make sure it's straight. And the nice thing about the RDL, man, it's got that nice radius that matches this buttstock perfectly. So it'll slide just straight back, centered, and you're pulling it apart, and you're pulling it all the way back, and then there you go, you're golden. All right, make sure it functions, pulls evenly, no weirdness, and that's it. Off, on. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, so definitely don't overthink it. That's it, man. All right, guys, so now you got the RDL. All you have to do, pull it out of the bag, hit the button, you lock it, you pop it with the optic mount, and you drop it, and you're good to go, man. So it's much more efficient, much more conducive to what we're all trying to achieve here, which speed is security. So you're able to quickly and rapidly deploy your carbine and operate. Love this thing, man. I hope to see a lot of good feedback on this. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it. Very simple upgrade, but it's a lot of these simple things added together that gives you what we've all got today, which really pumped about it. Really grateful for all the support you guys have given us over the years, man. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you, MCARBO Brother, for all your ideas and your support. Thank you. And as always, happy shooting.